friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video and welcome back to another 5-star prediction reaction video. I'm actually going to be reacting to my very first 5-star prediction that I filmed last year in 2020 at the beginning of the year, I think. I definitely set myself up for some very interesting books. I don't exactly remember how many I put on this list, but there's definitely some ones that I want to talk about. We're going to go through and watch the entire video and react to the books that I put on my 5-star prediction list, see if I love them, see if I hated them, where I stand with them. It should definitely be a fun time. It took me a very, very long time to get through all of these books, but I'm so glad that I finally did because now I can react to it and bring you guys a brand new 5-star prediction list, so stay tuned for that because I'll be coming to you guys very, very soon. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let me see when this video was filmed. I actually don't remember. This was on June 10th of 2020. So you know what? I'm not too far off. It took me a year and some odd months, a year and 1 month to finish all of these books. But I think that I am pretty much on track. I thought that it was much longer since I filmed this video, so I'm actually not too mad about it. But I don't think that many of the books that I put on here actually ended up being 5 stars. Let's see if I actually know my taste. This is the first year that I ever spent like actually reading throughout the entire year, so if I can get at least 1 or 2 of these, I'll be happy, but I'm not really sure. So let's go ahead and jump into it and see what I thought. Let me scoot over so that you guys can actually see the video here, and let's take a look. 5 stars. We'll skip the intro. Every time it baffles me, the background of this video, the fact that I only have 1 bookshelf, it's not even full. Like, this is crazy to me. So crazy that I have acquired so many books. As you can see, this is the aftermath of my previous haul that I just recently put up, and it's a wild ride. So I can't believe that so much has changed, but I'm not surprised, honestly. So the first book I have that zero I want to talk self-control about is a sequel, and that is Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. You know what? I ended up giving this book a 4-star. So not bad, not too far off, but definitely not 5-star in regards to predictions. I really like this book. I just don't think that it gave me everything that I would have wanted. The first book and the second book really didn't do it for me in regards to 5 stars. I think I gave them both 4 stars. I think the last book in the series ended up being a 5-star, which is a little bit interesting, but I still really enjoyed the series overall, so I'm glad that I forced myself to read this book because I really ended up enjoying it. It just wasn't the 5-star that everyone else raved and ranted about, but I still really enjoyed it. So let's move on to book 2. Alright, up next we have Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And this book I actually gave another 4 stars, so not quite a 5-star for me, unfortunately. But again, this is another book that I really, really enjoyed. I thought that it was really well done. I love the fact that it was written in verse. I felt like the reason why I didn't give it a full 5 stars was it was a little bit slow, and it wasn't quite everything that I wanted it to be. But overall, the story was really well done. It was a very emotional and heartfelt story that I really enjoyed. It just wasn't quite that 5-star material for me. I think the only Elizabeth Acevedo book that I've given 5 stars is With the Fire on High, which I really, really enjoyed. So this one wasn't, again, quite 5 stars, but really, really close. So, you know, I kind of know my reading taste because I think a 4-star is fantastic, but I haven't quite got to a 5-star, so I'm really hoping there's at least 1 of these, which I think, I actually know that there is at least 1 of these in this stack, but I don't remember how many more, so let's go ahead and keep going. Alright, Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi and Yemi. Again, this was not a 5-star for me. Man, this is like really already striking out, which is unfortunate. So this one was actually another 4-star for me, another 4-star book. So far, not too bad. I would definitely say this is a win in regards to the books that I put on this list that I've enjoyed. Just not quite 5-star predictions. I really enjoyed this book. I think, again, the pacing of this book was a little bit lacking in regards to what I really wanted from the overall scope of the book, so I didn't give it a full 5 stars, but I really loved the writing style. I loved the audiobook narrator on this one. It's a fantastic story. It just wasn't quite that full 5 stars that I really wanted, and so I ended up not quite giving it that, but I have really high hopes for the second book. Even though I've heard mixed reviews, so I'm hoping that I like the second book as much as I like the first, and hopefully that one will be a 5-star for me, but I really need to jump into that series soon because I'm starting to forget everything that happened in the first one. So, sad life, but eventually I will get around to book 2, and hopefully I enjoy it just as much or even more than book 1. Okay, up next is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and thankfully it is our first actual 5-star of this video, and I love this book so much. It's a special, special place in my heart. I definitely felt like this book was written for the audience that I am, a Black woman that lives the life of you know, a Black woman in America that definitely faces the same type of social justice issues and racism issues that Star, the main character of this book, really goes through. And I've never experienced as much as Star has experienced, but I felt very seen and heard by this book. And it's one of the first fiction books that I've read that really made me feel that, and I'm so glad that I read it. It's definitely 100% a 5-star. So I'm very, very glad that I read this book because it was very well done, very well written, extremely well planned out, and the emotion and the impact behind this book is so well done. I don't think that this book is just made for, you know, Black individuals in America, but for everyone that can really learn from the experience that Star had to go through and really take something away from it, which is a beautiful book that, you know, spans multi facets of the genre, and really just speaks to a lot of different experiences. But it was really well done. I'm so glad that I read it, and I cannot wait to read more of Angie Thomas as well as reread this book. And I definitely need to read the prequel, Concrete Rose, which has been on my TBR forever, but I really need to get around to it for sure. Okay, so this is probably the biggest disappointment on this list, and that is A Phoenix First Must Burn. This is an anthology edited by Patrice Caldwell, and I didn't love this book. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite book that I've read, especially in this list today. I've learned really that anthologies aren't my favorite type of book. I feel like I need a little bit more depth and a little bit more time spent with the characters and the storyline and the story arc and the character arcs. And anthologies really just kind of set me up for a really amazing story and they don't quite deliver. So that was very unfortunate. But I felt like I just liked more stories than I liked in this anthology. So I ended up giving it a pretty mediocre 3-star rating. I just wanted so much more. And especially a book written by, I think it was 15. A bunch of Black female authors. Like, that is right up my alley, right up my street, but it just wasn't something that really spoke to me. There were a few stories that I really enjoyed, but I think some of them were a little left field. Some of the writing wasn't great. Some of the storyline and storytelling aspects of this weren't my cup of tea, and unfortunately it didn't work for me as much as I would have wanted to, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm sad about it, but it's okay. We'll move on, right? All right, the next one that we have here is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabatiere, and I'm very, very happy to say that I did give this one a full 5 stars. I loved this fantasy book so much. It definitely surprised me a lot more than I thought that it was going to. Honestly, by the time that I got around to this one, because I didn't end up reading this one until 2 months ago in 2021, which is a very long time in regards to this 5-star prediction list, I definitely felt a little apprehensive toward the book. I just hadn't wanted to pick it up, and I just felt like my interest for the book had fallen off a little bit. But once I got to the book and really fell into the storyline and the writing, I was so captivated by the story and so blown away by Sabatiere's writing, and I just loved it so much. It was so well done. It's dark and gritty, and Sabatiere isn't afraid to go to some really dark places and allow her characters to feel some of the emotions that I feel like a lot of YA writers are a little afraid of and they shy away from, and that made the book even more impactful. I love the characters, I love the story arc, I loved the angst that this book brought to the table. It was just so beautifully well done. I absolutely loved book 2. It was another 5-star prediction, and it was another 5-star book, and I can't wait to get around to book 3 and 4. I know that this series is going to be absolutely amazing. Probably one of my favorite fantasy series of all time, so I'm so glad that I read it. Okay, another book that I adore so much. This is another 5-star book. I'm actually getting a lot more 5 stars in here than I thought that I was going to, which is so great. But Get a Life, Chloe Brown. You guys have heard me gush about this book series forever now. I absolutely love Talia Hibbert's Brownster series. It is so amazing. I will say that Chloe Brown isn't my favorite book in the series anymore after reading Danny and Eve Brown, but this book just brought me so much joy and happiness when reading it. I absolutely love Chloe. I love Red. I love them as a couple. I think that they are so beautifully well done. I love the diversity that Talia Hibbert puts in her books. I think that it is just so top-notch and amazing, and this book really did bring me so much absolute joy when reading these, and I'm so glad that I actually got a chance to sit down and read this entire series from start to finish. It was so well done. Definitely a well-deserved 5-star, and I'm so glad that I read it. Okay, up next, I forgot this was on my 5-star prediction list, if I'm being honest, and that is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So Daisy Jones was not a 5-star for me. It was a 4-star. It was a very, very high 4-star. I absolutely love this book. I think the pacing was the docking point of this book for me because I think the pacing was a little bit off. But the characters, the writing, the time put into these like plot lines, and the shock value at the end of this book made this book so worth it. It is still a book that I highly recommend, highly talk about very, very much to my customers when I'm in the store. It's a fantastically written book, but it just wasn't quite that 5-star that I needed to, you know, really like love it. It didn't end up in my favorites list of last year by any means, but I did love the story so much. And when I think back on reading this book and my reading experience, I think very fond thoughts of it. And I can definitely say that this is one of my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid novels so far. I will say that if I ended up putting Evelyn Hugo on this list, it would have gotten the 5-star because Evelyn Hugo was amazing. Love the story so much. Taylor Jenkins Reid has a way of writing stories that makes her characters feel so real and so evolved and so thought out that it just makes the book even better. So for that, I definitely give her mad props, but this book just wasn't quite the 5-star that I wanted it to be. Okay, up next is the biggest surprise of this video, and that is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. And I tried to read this, I really did. This was a book that I actually had on my July TBR, and I DNF'd it. I gave it about 150 pages, and I just couldn't do it anymore. The subject matter of this book was just too much for me to sit down and try to dedicate my time and energy and mental experience to. It just wasn't working for me. It was very uncomfortable for me to read. It was a very hard book for me to sit down and want to pick up. And so I didn't end up finishing it, unfortunately, which is really sad because I really thought that I was going to love it. I thought that it was going to be very impactful. And I'm sure for a lot of people that got to the end and read the rest of this story got a lot out of it. But for me, it just wasn't worth the mental and emotional draining that I got from reading this book. And I just wanted to enjoy my experience, and this just wasn't it. So unfortunately, I did DNF this one, but I hope that if you guys read this one and really loved it, that you would let me know down below what you thought of the book, because I would love to know your thoughts and experience with this one. It just didn't work for me, unfortunately, and I had to let it go. Okay, up next we have The Vanishing Half by Bennett, and I did give this one a 5-star. I thought that this book was extremely well done. I really liked the mode of storytelling. It felt very real and raw, and I loved seeing these two sisters that have so much in common, so much life experience in common, go to lead very, very separate lives. And I liked the fact that their children were drawn into the story, and it was a very generational type of storyline. This is not a book that I kept on my shelves because I think that it was, for me at least, it was a one-time read, something that I really enjoyed in the moment but don't see myself rereading. But the impact and the beauty of the story definitely stuck with me. It's definitely something that I still recommend to my customers very, very often, very frequently. It just wasn't a story that I think that I will ever enjoy a reread process of. It was very long and drawn out, but it had so much beauty and impact behind it that you can't help but love it and root for the characters at the end, which is basically a means for 5-star for me. So it did get the 5-star review from me. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Definitely would recommend it if you like this type of story, this very generational coming of age type of storyline. It just wasn't a story that would, you know, warrant a reread for me, but definitely something that I'm so glad that I read, enjoyed my reading experience so much of, and definitely gave it that 5-star review. And that is the end of this 5-star prediction video. I really, really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I am very curious to see what my next 5-star prediction video is going to look like. I'm not sure if I have the best, I don't know if I have the best choice in 5-star predictions. A lot of these ended up at a very high 4-star or a 5-star, but just wasn't quite what I was looking for. So I'm hoping that after a year and a half of reading, I have a better idea of what I'm going to like and what I'm not going to like. But stay tuned for that video. I will definitely leave it in the description box below if you want to go check that out, because it'll probably come up a little while after this one. But I'm really excited to see the books that I pick and see if I actually end up loving them. But let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the books that I talked about today and what your thoughts are on them and what you gave them as a star rating. I would love to hear that as well. But that is the end of this video. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And of course, leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.